I'm Cynthia Marks. I head up the Holistic Psychoanalysis Foundation founded by my late husband, Dr. Bernard Bale. Welcome to And Now Love. And today we welcome back Dr. Lauren Dolinsky. Dr. Lauren Dolinsky is a practicing psychotherapist here in Los Angeles and really follows and believes in Dr. Bale's methodology and theory. And we're so happy to have Lauren practicing the way she does and to be here with us to describe what she so deeply believes in. And we want to support what you're doing however we can. And you're all about what we're talking about. So this is an exciting and easy conversation.
Well, thank you for having me back. Happy to be here.
Good. Thank you. And we talked about what we were going to talk about, and we want to talk about hope.
I think we want to talk about hope. I think the whole world could use some hope right now.
So tell us what that means, given the scope of what we deal with here.
Well, I just thought it would be a nice topic because just the way the world is right now, the whole state of the world, and in every direction, I feel we could all use some hope. And, you know, it shows up for us in all kinds of ways. And doing this work, I believe the unconscious likes to give us messages of hope all along the way. So I thought that that would be a really nice thing for us to focus on today.
Help us not give up.
Yeah. Help us not give up, especially we talk so much on here about trudging through a lot of the harder material. Yeah. And that's so much the focus of the therapy and moving through a lot of the painful, stressful, anxiety-ridden, just all the darker stuff. And that's so important. And that's really how we change, is letting go of so much of that. But along the way, we often get these really beautiful and lovely, hopeful messages. They often tend to be spiritual. They go hand in hand with the idea of change and transformation. So I thought maybe just shining a little spotlight on that piece could be really nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So how do you want to go about that?
Well, you were gracious enough to provide some dreams for us to look at, and we could just dive right into that and take a look, and that'll just open up more of a conversation about it.
I think so.
Yeah,
let's
we
do
can
that.
dive in that way.
But one thing, before we do that,
Yeah.
one thing that I've become more comfortable with in talking with you and being on this podcast is the idea of the symbols in our dreams. And I kind of poo-pooed that there was sort of a commonality, but I can really see that is the case because we all have certain things that we deal with in life typically every day. The sun comes up,
Yes.
we sleep,
Yeah.
we have a soft pillow or we don't, or so many things that we share in common that represent something, like the
things
sun
become
coming up.
symbolic, right? Sun up, sun down. I mean, so many things in the human experience that become archetypal, symbolic, that have, you know, kind of collective meaning in dreams.
What do I do if I lose my phone?
Right. Right. That kind of thing.
I'm going to have so much more energy after I have my 3 cups of coffee.
Right. Or, right. The idea of waking up, sobering up, not being drunk to what's going on,
Yeah.
you know, all kinds of things, not to mention all of the bathroom stuff, cleaning up, letting go. You know, there are so many things and so many ways that the mind likes to think about certain ideas that are important to each of us and that reflect an internal process that's happening. So what we're always looking for in the dreams is that what's happening in the person's internal world and what's the process that's going on. And the dream will use symbolic language to talk about that. And, you know, where it gets interesting is that typically every dream is very personal to the unique dreamer. So we're talking about all these like collective symbols, and that's important to know, and we can apply that. But we always want to be very, very careful when we're working therapeutically that we make sure to talk about, you know, the unique meaning to the person and not just jump to a collective symbol because we might miss something very unique and important to that individual story that their mind really wants to work on and that they need for their own growth and transformation in that moment. So it's always an interesting balancing act.
Fascinating for you, I'm sure.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the reason that I, at say 69, might have to go back to school and learn math, while there could be a commonality to that, what brings me to needing that experience is different than what it might be for somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. In almost every dream. And at the same time, sometimes we have dreams that really speak to something in the collective, or we're dreaming for the collective, and it can be interesting to see that. So I think some of the dreams that we're going to talk about today they strike a nice balance. They're your dreams. Again, it's very gracious of you to open that up and bring them in and share with the audience so we can all learn from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And, so they will each have such specific meaning to you. And since this isn't a therapeutic setting, we're not going to work with them that way and talk too much about your personal history and do what we might do in a session. But instead, we're going to look at some of the messages that I think could be helpful for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So we'll start with one.
Great.
Okay. I see a woman before me. She stands about 12 inches away. She is about 4'6" tall. About 4'6". That's pretty specific.
Mm-hmm. And 12 inches away. Mm-hmm.
She has walked and stopped here, right in front of me. She has on a beautiful, soft, white gown. Looks Victorian, but a little simpler. It almost looks like a wedding dress, but it isn't a wedding dress. It's silk, has a tight bodice, and a slightly full skirt. Her head and neck are covered by a tight gold threaded cap of sorts. Her face is simple, no makeup, maybe freckled, straw-colored hair. She looks in my eyes and says either, "I do," or "I will do it. I can't remember." Either way, though, I am to understand that she is confident and will make what needs to happen, happen. In the dream, I wonder if she is my angel.
Yeah. What a beautiful dream, right? I mean, that's one of those dreams that hardly needs any interpreting, right? It's not convoluted and riddled with all kinds of layers, and it's so simple and beautiful. And I imagine, and maybe you can tell us what the feeling was that you felt having that dream, or even waking up to it, and just what your experience was.
Mm-hmm. So I remember thinking that last sentence, that maybe this was my angel, that when I woke up, that really stuck with me. Like, could that be possible? Could there be such a thing? And I'm dreaming this. I'm dreaming this. And in my waking life, I probably couldn't easily admit to such a thing.
Okay.
But here it is being presented to me in my unconscious.
Right.
If my intellect doesn't want to buy it, it doesn't seem to matter.
We bypass the intellect.
Yeah.
by giving you an experience of it. I mean, this is one of the reasons we love working with dreams, is there's so much feeling in there that we want the dreamer to connect to, because there's truly a reality in it. And I think so many people, when it comes to the more spiritual side of life, for the people who are open to it, and what's interesting is dreams like this will come whether a person has conscious spiritual inclinations or not. And that's always a fun thing to talk about, especially if someone's not necessarily super open to that idea. And look, we don't impose that on anybody. I am never here to impose any spiritual ideas on anyone that doesn't want them. But the unconscious tends to come with certain messages of help and hope from that side anyways. So people can take it however they want, and whether they think it's literally an angel or literally something from God or from the spiritual world, that's completely up to every person to decide. And we're not talking about religion or any kind of organized religion at all. This is just the spiritual world, and the idea that possibly there's help there, and having it in a dream, you get the experience of it. And I think that's what people are so hungry for, because we can talk about ideas all day long and go, well, I think that would be so neat if there was a God and there was a loving God and there was all this help and there were angels. That sounds so nice. But when we get something like this that we feel and we get a personal dream and you get this woman who's going to show up, and not only that, I mean, we can talk about all these little details in the dream because they're interesting. It just jumped out to me listening to it this time that she was going to say, I do to you.
Mm-hmm. It did too to me when I said that.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a big, big statement right there.
That's a big statement. When we hear that statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something about that in that when I said it this time, I do, the thing that came to my mind was, am I married to spirit?
Exactly. And that this is a woman, a being, an entity who, as you say, can get things done. She can get things done. So if you're married to her and what she represents, what a nice message for you if you're going through any kind of hard time in your life, to be able to hang on to that and use this as a touchstone in your life through everything. This isn't just a dream where it's like, well, you just had it the one time and it's a one day only.
You're right.
There's an
Pay attention
expiration
right
date.
now.
Yeah, there's no expiration date on that. You can tune into that any time because it's a marriage.
Yeah. So how does one make that stick? I had this dream.
Yeah, this was several years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
And at that point, I was in the business of sort of not allowing this kind of information to be real for me.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, in this dream, when I said to myself, maybe it was like a secret. It was in my dream. So I didn't really have to admit to it.
Well, that's the beauty of you just kind of get to wrestle with that. I mean, if we were working clinically with it, we could have conversations about that and just see where it goes. But I would just encourage people to take the message. You get a message like that, receive it. See if you can open your mind and your heart to that sort of thing and how you'd like to apply that to your life. That's the beautiful thing too, is where could you use some extra help?
Mm-hmm.
Where do things feel really, really hard? That maybe you could use some divine intervention. You could use some divine guidance to get through something sticky or difficult, challenging that just feels so hard to deal with. It's a beautiful thing. And here's the thing. Sometimes I don't know what was happening in your life. I don't know if you remember what was going on.
I do.
Okay.
And it was, my dreams were, many of them, extremely intense.
Yes.
And frightening.
Yeah.
And I was getting to the bottom of something in my life that I held as a truth for decades, held as a truth, and let that false thing kind of be my North Star.
Mm-hmm.
And it led me astray over and over again. But no matter how much it led me astray, I was going to keep buying into it. And my dreams were giving me the opportunity to really investigate that.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dreams became sort of scarier. Yeah. And then this dream kind of popped in to all of that.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what is this little breath of fresh air?
Thank you. Right. And that's a good way to put it. And I think sometimes that's how it happens. And that's why I love this as an example, because we don't want people to think that as you're dealing with that darker, scarier stuff, which we all, if we choose to go down the path of digging into our unconscious, inevitably that's where we end up going, because there's so much of that for each of us to attend to. But it's not like we have to get to a reward at the end of the road. You don't have to get, a certain amount of healing done. You don't have to have all these transformations and changes. You can get a dream like this at any point, and you can get help along the way. So again, today I really just wanted to emphasize this point to maybe we all get to keep an eye out for that for ourselves. This is just a beautifully clear dream. Again, it's not sandwiched in with a bunch of crazy, scary stuff. Like, it's just a very simple, beautiful dream. But, sometimes a dream like that will come sandwiched in a lot of other material. And, I would encourage people to look for the gold in those. If there's little glimmers of that, maybe there is some help there buried in the scary stuff too. So let's not lose sight of that. I love the idea that this came to you when you really did need some encouragement to re-examine a lot of these things, to go into the scary material, to question whether the North Star should really be a North Star. And if it's not, that's very unmooring.
Very. If I abandon that, what do I have?
Yeah, you have no solid ground beneath you. And look, it's a good thing. We know, talking about it now, you can see on the other side of it that that's amazing. Probably the best thing that could happen.
The very best thing that could happen to me in my life as an individual.
Yes.
To discover that my North Star, supposed North Star, was none of that.
Well, that's a very brave thing to do. Not all of us get the opportunity to look at that and go down that path, but that's incredible. Like, what a gift.
Yes, I feel so fortunate.
Yeah.
So fortunate. So about the scary dreams, though, and finding these moments of hope, I think when you're starting to uncover something like what I've suggested, I held this truth, and you start to think about dismantling it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the scary dreams kind of bring you to the point, perhaps, at least for me, of recognizing what was false about that North Star, and then having to kind of face it and say, do I want to hold on to it? It's my choice.
Right.
Or am I going to be better off letting go of that? And again, what happens when I let go of that? So then the dreams become scarier. Like, you're thinking about letting go of this
right. Yeah, you're messing with the system.
Yeah.
You're rattling up the system, and that's when a person's internal saboteur comes in and goes, not so fast, are you sure? It's this very outdated, primitive way to protect you from changing this, because we have to imagine for everybody, if there's a false North Star, it was put there in an effort to protect a person from a great deal of pain. That's usually the setup. And so things will get very scary in an effort to try and protect you from having to feel this ancient pain, which is more connected to probably something more real, a reality that's hard to face, that maybe there wasn't love at the foundation of something when we needed there to be. Yes. It's usually some version of that.
Yes, which is exactly what this was.
Right.
So something that I thought was absolute love, and I allowed to dictate the course of my loving relationships, I found myself in situations that weren't really love. They were more like that falsehood in that North Star.
Yes, exactly.
And not satisfying.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So things will get scarier as you face that and actually confront it, and don't just go along with the status quo, which is all these false beliefs of, oh, this is just what love is and this is the way things, you go down that path, things won't be as scary. They won't feel good. It'll be deeply unsatisfying, right? But if you're not messing with that, it may not get as scary. That's why, the more we can lean in when the scarier stuff happens, we're usually on the right path. And again, that's why I'm highlighting it's not just all fire and brimstone doing that. There's also help.
Yes.
There's also help. And so there's, you don't have to do it alone. And even if you're not in a therapy where you're doing this with somebody, which would be ideal, because then you really know what you're dealing with, right? But let's just say that you're listening and you want to examine some of this stuff in your own dream life, that you can take a look and just know that even as you're doing it on your own, that you can still have help come in from, a spiritual realm or whatever it is you believe in. We're not really alone.
So to stop and think about that, when you're having this group of, let's say, scary dreams, and you think, I don't want to dream anymore. I mean, this is awful. Every night I go to bed and I have to wake myself up, and then you have a dream like this.
Yes.
And you've given all of these emotions to those scary dreams. You've bought into the fearfulness or the upset or the confusion. But to maybe give a dream like this kind of equal attention. Wow, what about this?
Even more, right? Like that maybe that's more of the reality than all of the really scary stuff that's really just designed to scare you. Well, first of all, I mean, it's scary stuff that's inherited for generations that we all have to deal with. And there's so much trash in all of our minds. So that stuff is very scary. And then there's the extra layer of scary of when you're going to try and face it, and the part of your mind's trying to protect you against it. So that's a lot. All of that is based on lies. There's a lot of very real pain, But what the outcome is that we then believe a lot of lies about ourselves, about whether we're lovable, just what's available to us in this world, what these limits are, and it's just all lies. We get a dream like this and we get a little closer to the truth, right? So I would say give it more weight.
I think so. And it's almost like in this dream, it was so devoid of all the other
Yes, you
trash.
got a nice break. You got a really nice break in this dream.
But it's almost saying to me, here's what you really are. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
You are not all that stuff.
That's right.
You're not all that trauma, all that trash.
Yeah. Look, that's what we come here to deal with as a human, and we each have our path of what we're supposed to contend with in our life as a human.
Yes, which is ongoing.
And like you say, at any age, we're still in school.
Yeah.
So.
But here's a little snippet of what a cleaned up, simple, whole, healthy.
Yeah. And as things get cleaner and cleaner in the mind, a lot of times we see the messages come in a little more simply, because the truth is usually pretty simple. We love to see a very simple dream like this where we just know, oh, okay, there's divine help. And again, we can talk about the deal. You gave yourself some fun numbers in there in case you needed extra encouragement and all these little symbols that I think bring the message home, but we don't even really need them. The message is there. She can get it done. She can make things happen. You're married to her. She wants to marry you.
Yes. So there's that safety net. I always have this as
like, if you
backup.
Want it, she's ready to say, I do. Yeah. And I will make it happen.
Mm-hmm. So then to that, would it be a message of, here's some hope and help for you. You haven't agreed to it yet, but I'm here.
I'm here. Yeah, she's available. So like you said, you can resist it and go, angels, that's crazy. Like, I don't really buy into it. And I think she's just letting you know, no problem.
I'm still standing by.
I'm here. Yeah, take it or leave it, but the help's available. And I think that's true for everybody. So it's sort of like a take it or leave it. This side of life is available to everybody. It's available to everybody. And you can think about it. You can use whatever construct feels right to you. And if it's not the divine, maybe it's the universe or energy or just something that just feels helpful and maybe just bigger than ourselves, bigger than our
tangible
human, than our concrete waking experience, that maybe there's something a little more. Everybody gets to define that for themselves. Yeah, a dream like this, she's there, she's ready to help. So you get to decide what you want to do with that.
It's hard for me, the numbers part.
Okay.
So, I mean, we spoke about maybe a cup of coffee means a similar thing to everyone, but everyone has a different experience using that symbol. But the number 4, does it have the same? Number 4 seems to me like it could mean something different to every individual. How do numbers come to be?
It's a good question, and it is one of those things where we want to be careful in a dream not to just jump to, 4 always means this, because I always first want to hear from the dreamer, and I want to hear, does that number mean anything to them personally? Are we talking about let's go down the personal route first. And then numbers do carry a certain collective symbolic vibration, each of them a little different. And they all have their own unique meaning. And there's so many systems that talk about this, like the tarot and numerology and, these more esoteric systems designed to connect to the unconscious, and that there is this sort of collective meaning with numbers, and they all just have so much overlap that we can't ignore that. Maybe when we talk about a 4 and a 6 and a 12, that you're trying to give yourself a message. And it's interesting because you could have picked any height,
right?
And you could have said she's 1 foot away, but you said she was 12 inches away, and you picked certain numbers, I think intentionally, that your unconscious did that intentionally just to try and drive a message home.
Mm-hmm. So what is the message? What is the message of What does my 12 mean?
Yeah. Well, again, if we were working with this clinically, we'd maybe go down a different path, and I'd ask you a lot of questions about that. But just for the sake of what we're talking about here, when I hear this, what a 12 can mean is a new perspective. So a 12 in the tarot, that's the Hanged Man. And it's like basically turning everything upside down
I see.
and getting an entirely new perspective. So I like that in light of what you're talking about here, because you're saying everything's been so dark and scary. I'm in this really scary place in my process of uncovering these truths that are so hard to face. Well, as you're doing that, you're gaining a whole new perspective. And maybe part of that is letting in a lot more light and a lot more help, and maybe angelic help and something from that realm. So that would be, I think, a radical new perspective for you. And that could be the 12. We also like to add up numbers too. So we can do like a 1 plus 2 and see the 3, which is abundance, the feminine, Venus. You know, that's a very lovely number too. Just like we can add the 4 and the 6, and you get a 10, which we reduce to a 1. And that's like an as above, so below connection to spirit, which is very appropriate, right?
And the use of these numbers and the combinations of the numbers are there's a kind of a common thread through tarot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about that, because they came from different parts of the world,
Yeah.
different groups of people, interesting.
It's fascinating. Yeah. I mean, this is why our collective unconscious is so interesting, because something Jung would talk about is all these symbols that we have in common cross-culturally. And that's one of them, you know, numbers and the meaning of numbers, whether you're looking at tarot or numerology or whatever it is, there's so much overlap, and there's such a universal nature to it. So, you know, we want to listen. If the mind is trying to give us a message, the unconscious is trying to give us a message, why not use everything we can to try and decipher?
So if you put numbers in your dream, it's not just some random thing.
It's not random. And again, it may not directly be related to the way the tarot talks about that number. You may be talking about an age. You know, it could, maybe a number has like a real significance to you, that it means something when it shows up.
Maybe a 12 means whatever happens in a dozen, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all, you know, and that's why I want to hear a person's associations, because maybe their mind already has some associations that could be important.
And it could be that if we were doing this in a therapeutic sort of way, that you might say to me, well, you know, 12 means you're sort of turning the system upside down. But if that didn't resonate with me, I could say, you know, I'm not feeling that one. And we would just investigate further.
If something doesn't sound right to a person, okay, no problem. You're going to keep dreaming. That's the beautiful thing about dreams. If there's a message that wants to come through and it hasn't come through, it's going to come back. It's a wonderful system in that way, where the messages will come in all different forms until the message is received.
So it could be that I might say, well, that really doesn't sit right. And maybe it doesn't, but maybe there's some amount of resistance that's creating that. And if that's the case, it's going to keep coming back.
It'll come back. Yeah, it might take a whole nother form and a whole different dream, but it might carry a similar message. And we go, oh, well, you know, maybe it was pointing to something like that. Yeah, the 4 and the 6, the 4 also is a, you know, like a solid foundation. It can be a very masculine number, the Emperor, but it's stability, foundation, and paired with a 6 of love is, again, you know, it's, you just filled this dream with really wonderful numbers that carry a certain message.
Are there numbers that have a negative message?
It's a good question. You know, a lot of, we'd have to consider the context of a lot of things. Like there's ones that might appear scary to people, like 13, which is so interesting. Collectively, that number has been so demonized that people pull it out of elevators and pretend it doesn't exist, because 13, oh my God, like scary, Friday the 13th. And it does often symbolize death, but in a really important way, kind of what you're talking about, a transformation, letting go.
Right.
So bad? No, I don't think that's a bad number. Same with something like the Tower, which is 16, which can be like systems collapsing, something internal that was structural foundational that was maybe built on a lie collapsing. That's terrifying. That's a scary, if someone pulls the Tower card in tarot, they get a little scared. But it's ultimately a really good thing. It's liberating. It's designed to liberate you and to be more connected to the truth. So both of those. So are there bad numbers? I don't think so. We just want to look at them in their context.
I actually was somewhere where I saw a street that was 13th Street. And I thought, wow, I wonder if the property values are less there.
They should be more. What's interesting too is that the 13 is so connected to the divine feminine, which, collectively has been so suppressed and repressed. And so it's no wonder that we've gone to great lengths to try and make the 13 disappear when it has such a connection to the divine feminine. So
that's fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then are things like freckles important?
Maybe. I mean, I think anything in a dream is put there for a reason. So I'm prone to not saying, oh, that's just meaningless. I'd want to hear more. I'd want to hear what that meant to you. Certainly could point to a certain innocence, youthfulness. You usually hear that in a youthful description. But, I'd want to hear your thoughts about it.
Well, I think just talking about this one dream and then thinking about what so many of us think about our dreams, which is very little.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just convince yourself that you're dreaming for a reason and all the parts and pieces in your dream are in your dream for a reason, and
you put them there.
You put them there.
You put them there.
So don't dismiss.
Let's think about it. Yeah, let's think about why.
I mean, how fascinating, first of all, if a person is, say, having a dream like this and they're not in a therapeutic setting, can they sort of go through the process of what we just did a little bit, which was, or we talked about the possibility of doing it. Well, what did you feel about, when we talk about the number 12, a person without someone like you might say, well, what does a 12 mean to me? And you could go through some different scenarios and say, is it that it's a dozen? Is it, what do you think of if you come up with 3 instead of 12, 1 plus 2? And start to think about what resonates, and then pay attention to future dreams that maybe are follow-up to that number 12.
Absolutely. I think that's a fun exercise no matter what. You just get to kind of play with that part of your mind a little bit and build that relationship. Again, a dream like this, it's like we don't even need the numbers are great. They help. They drive the point home. The message is so clear. This isn't even a dream that we have to get in and wrestle with. So many dreams are so laden with toxic material that's designed almost not to be understood and not to be penetrated. And so in listening to them, you can often feel it, and it's hard to get through. You feel like you're working through the mud a little bit.
Trudging.
That's none of that is in this dream. I would just receive it.
Should we do another one?
Yeah.
Okay. This one's not as long. I live in a simple wood-sided house that is painted white. It's right on the water. I live with my teenage daughter and our dog. Other people are visiting. I seem to need to reiterate to myself in the dream that the simple house is right on the water. It's as if I couldn't quite believe that were true, and I had to say it twice in order to hear myself.
I see. That was the point that needed an emphasis in the dream. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of like the last one, in that I had to say to myself, I wonder if she is my angel.
You're having these internal thoughts about the dream in the dream. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what did you think about that one when you had it?
Well, I think I like the idea of this simple house, seemingly without issues to contend with, and that I'm there with this person, my daughter, whom I love to pieces, and that it's even a place where I get to keep her safe. And our dog is sort of a conduit between the two of us, because we both love this dog, and he sort of goes between us. And it was as if all the parts and pieces could be kept safe by the water.
So it's similar to what we were just talking about in terms of things becoming more simple as they're cleaned up. You know, they don't have to be so confusing and messy. And as we clear out a lot of this garbage, it's nice to be in a simpler place, because what you're describing is an internal place to dwell. And I think what you did in emphasizing it was by the water is you wanted to make a big point that you were going to live near the unconscious, right? That you were going to start to make your home there, which means really being in relationship all the time with the unconscious. And what a nice, simple life that could give you. And then not only that, you've painted the place white, which, you know, this is one of those things where colors, like numbers, can have now it might have personal meaning to you. You know, we'd have to talk about, well, how come that? But a lot of times with white, it's that purity of the divine. Again, and being close. So you're close to spirit, you're close to the unconscious, you're close to the water. That's a lovely place to make a home. So I think, again, this is one of those really hopeful dreams that also shows a real transformation. This isn't some scary haunted house with God knows what happening in every room this way and you know, all kinds of problems, which all of us have those sorts of dreams. We all have them. And if we're lucky enough to do enough renovating of our internal world, we might be able to simplify things. And again, talking about the possibility that living near the unconscious, that building a home there could be a really hopeful and helpful thing, even as you go through the scarier stuff, that's still a better place to live.
Because this dream was, again, in the midst of some very uncomfortable dreams.
Okay. Yeah, and that's how it will go. So again, like, I like talking about these things because these are the messages we get along the way in process, not like this is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and you have to be so advanced to get there. We all can have this.
And it's not suffering the entire way along the way.
We don't have to suffer the entire time. No, there are hard things to face. And I think if we're doing it right, we brush up against some painful stuff. You know, that's necessary, and that's part of evolving and growing and releasing certain things and really developing and maturing as a person, right? And we can have lots of help along the way, and it's not all miserable, and look at what's available to all of us.
So when you were talking about the color white, before you said what you said, I was thinking, well, for me, white means fresh, clean, new.
Yes. Yeah, a
which
fresh
is
start. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we don't even have to go the spiritual route with it. You could just say, I needed a fresh start, a fresh place to live.
And to be by the water rather than in the water am I supposed to be in the water?
I don't know that we need to go too concrete with it. I think living near the water, having access to the water, being in relationship with the water is great. We're going to give ourselves dreams that also in some way feel realistic enough. I mean, you could.
I can't put the house in the water.
You could, you know, and we could look at it that way too. And I think, you know, that would be interesting as well. I don't know that we have to even think about it like, oh, well, the next step is you should live in the water. We want you in relationship with that.
And aware of it.
And aware of it, in conversation with it, you know, at all times. I think if the house and you're emphasizing it is right on the water, you're interfacing and interacting with that water all the time. So to me, that sounds pretty good. Again, if you wanted to build an underwater palace, okay. You know.
But I like that we have the ability in our dreams to point things out to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to make sure that I am aware of what I'm trying to tell myself by telling it to myself twice.
Yeah, you wanted that part known. You said, here's the important piece. By the water, simple and by the water. You know, that was the main point.
Okay, so I have one more, I think.
Okay.
I seem to always keep Larry, my dog, in an old brown leather suitcase. Whenever I put him in it, I have to smash the top down in order for it to truly latch. One day, I think to myself that this is really an odd thing to do, and I decide to never do it again. I feel better.
I bet you would. Yeah.
So in the dream, it's not just the dream of one day. It's somehow a dream where I know I'm doing this over and over again.
Right.
And then I recognize one day, gosh, I worked so hard at this. I don't have to do this. Why am I doing this?
Yeah. I mean, what a huge realization, right? I mean, do you want to share your perspective on what you think you're dreaming about in any way that you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two different things that come to mind in what I was protecting and trying so hard to protect at the expense of what? I was working so hard to make sure something stayed encased to my own detriment and not being able to let go and know what happens if I don't work so hard to keep this thing under wraps.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good.
It was good.
Yeah.
And it was on the path to me becoming comfortable to actually be aware of what was my reality instead of smashing it down.
Smashing. And we don't want the dog, again, speaking more just symbolically about it, right? The dog is all instinct and feeling, a little innocent animal. You must be pointing to something, I would imagine, that was maybe done to you that you then had to reenact so many times in your own intuition, and feeling part of you smashed down and put in this again and again. And to decide not to do that anymore is huge. So the reason I thought this dream fits in with the other, this is an angel coming in to help, but it shows the process of change. It's a very hopeful dream. It shows us all what's possible, that something you've done potentially your whole life, you could decide not to do anymore. And what a relief that would be, and what like a true change that would be, as far as what that really means for you in your life.
I think this was on the way to giving myself permission to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine at the core of it, that dog is probably you, your real feeling self. And if you don't have to be smashed down all the time and put in this suitcase and hurt all the time, and you could just be free, that's revolutionary.
It is. But it's also interesting in my telling you about the dream that I talked more about the smashing and the case than the dog.
Well, they're both important. I mean, your mind was focused on what had been done to you, and that what you then had to unknowingly reenact in your own life to your own self and go, this is how I'm supposed to be treated in this life. This is what I got. So I'm going to keep doing this because this is how it's supposed to go for me, right? And to come to a realization that I don't have to do that anymore is a really big deal. We want to highlight that. I don't want to throw away a dream like this and not think about it and not know that it carries something really important.
It's so unbelievably refreshing to be given the gift of letting go of the stuff that you carry, that you pretend is you, so that you can really be you.
Oh, what a relief. I mean, we all deserve that.
Oh, each and every one of us.
Yeah, we all deserve to be our realest, truest selves, unencumbered, or at least less encumbered by all the junk that we didn't even know we were given to carry around, and all the lies we've had to believe about ourselves, and that the way that impacts every aspect of our lives.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And it certainly does more than dribble out into our communities. It builds our communities.
That's right. That's right. And then everything has to be built on a false foundation. If a human life is built on a false foundation, everything's built on a false foundation. We come together and we build false foundations. So the more each individual gets to be a little more real and true to their own hearts and gets to live as their true selves, that has the opposite effect. Then we get to have a more real, a more loving foundation to start to build our lives on.
It's interesting how you can always look out at the world and see what's going on and then think about what's going on inside of you.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to do it from the inside out if we want anything to change.
For sure. I mean, that is ever so important. It sounds sort of airy-fairy, but it really isn't. It's
a reality.
Yeah.
It's a reality.
So you had some little snippets that you thought you could share with us. That would be
Sure.
So wonderful.
Do we have time?
We have time for a couple of those.
So I brought in some recent patient dreams that I thought were just so like just little snippets that drove home some of these points, and would be nice to hear because they're just nice for everyone to hear that this is a possibility. And when we talk about changing a foundation, I mean, one of them was that the flooring, the foundation of the room was all being painted over pink or shades of pink. And again, very simple. There was a bigger dream to it, but just that piece. And again, we can look for these really nice, hopeful pieces in a dream, because that's a really nice idea when we talk about changing the foundation of the way a person lives. So let's look at the floor, right? And let's look at what it means to now have it pink. That, I think, in this context for what the person was dealing with, was meaning now we can have a foundation that's more love, that's a softer feminine, that's a softer love, and also the idea of, in the pink, we use that phrase when healthy and in good spirits.
So I'm certain that resonated with your client.
Yes. Yeah, and it was appropriate to what was going on in that person's life. It all made sense, but it's also it's such a nice dream to have. So we want to hold on to these. And there was another one where that person was eating a bowl of puffy heart cereal in milk. And yeah, so it was these puffy red hearts. And again, very simple. This isn't very convoluted. This is just a little snapshot. But to be able to eat from that and what that means to take that in, and for that person to know they are lovable and they can receive love. And that's, for a lot of us, a really big idea. Yeah, big idea. It sounds simple, and we talk about these things all the time. And I think everybody intellectually knows that that's the way we should all live and what we should all have. But a lot of times our dreams don't reflect that, because that's not actually the reality that many of us live in emotionally. So what we want to do is get to a place where those things actually line up a little more. And the emotional reality in the unconscious, enough has been cleared out. Enough of the garbage has been taken out and appropriately flushed or thrown away, that now we get to have this new experience. Now we get a new foundation. We get this new loving food to eat. And, the person dreaming that gets that feeling. We're always focused on that. Like in your dreams, there's a big feeling, I think, in each of them. That's such a big relief.
Yes, definitely. So this dream where the woman's eating this fabulous cereal, she's taking it in and she's looking at it, and it's floating in milk, which is white.
Yes.
And
and milk too, we know symbolically milk is our first food. And for so many of us, the milk we got, our moms didn't mean to, but it wasn't necessarily the ideal breast milk that we all should have gotten emotionally, whether literally that was provided or not. We want to look at what that actually came with, what the mom was actually feeding the baby emotionally. And a lot of times, again, not blaming the mom at all, because the mom was given so much in her own life to contend with that she didn't know that she was passing on. And we see it via the milk. And so sometimes we might have rotten milk, sour cream, dreams where it's not a really nice situation.
So, and then in this case too, it would be up to your patient to know what that milk meant.
Yeah, and I think here we have it, you know, in a nice way. We have this is the milk everyone should have. This is the nourishment all of us should have. We should have the really nice milk that's filled with the puffy red hearts.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. I'm able to love and receive
That's
love.
right. And when you can eat from that and really take that in and receive it, guess what you're now available to give? You know, so what a lovely system. You know, so it's a really nice dream. And I think, let's see, one of the other ones from this set was the idea of telling the backseat driver they weren't allowed to drive anymore. So I think that is such a similar one to the suitcase dream, right? Because it's like, no, we're going to stop doing this. In a way, we could almost say you almost had a backseat driver doing that action. I don't think it was conscious, right? And so we all of us have backseat drivers. We talk about them as an imprint. And oftentimes it's a parent or both parents, you know, parts of the parent and their unconscious driving our lives. And we don't know it, entirely unconscious. So we're going through this life thinking we're driving. And our dreams often show us otherwise. So for a patient to have a dream where they're telling the backseat driver, enough, knock it off, I'm going to drive now, that's great.
That's huge. It's so fascinating that truly through understanding our dreams, we can find out what stuff we've been carrying that doesn't belong to us.
Right.
And how that has just encumbered us.
Oh, what a gift.
It is huge. It's huge.
You know, because we don't know what we don't know. But we know that things don't always go right. And we know there's difficulties and we might run into certain things over and over again. And how come? How come that again?
And I think some of us set ourselves up in that, well, I don't know if this is like the life I want to have. But it's the life I have. Who am I to change it? Who am I to change it?
Right.
You know, and in the process of changing it, I don't want to diss the people that brought me here, thinking that, you know, if I change, I'm going to be saying something negative about the way I was raised or my ancestors.
Sure.
We don't, a lot of us, it's so hard to go there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in that process, I think it's so healthy to remember that those people who supported us, who brought us into the world, were dealing with what they had to deal with too.
That's right. I mean, the thing is, and I would say unfortunate, but it's just the reality, is that these things just unconsciously get passed on down the line. That's what happens, and no one means to do it.
But how much hope we can have if we begin to really
we can
look
do
at this
something
gift.
about it. Yeah, we can do something about it. You know, we don't just have to take it.
Yeah. And then that helps our future generations, of course.
Absolutely. And so we get to change things and we get help along the way, you know, that we're truly not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great thing to recognize, that we get help along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it for us.
Okay, fantastic.
Just for today, though.
Just for today, sure.
So we'll speak with you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Please follow, rate, and share our podcast and pass this episode along to someone who might need it. I think that's everyone. This is And Now Love. Listen to your dreams and live from your heart.